Hello, everyone. So, this is Raza Von, V-O-N, Raza, R-A-S-A, Von, V-O-N, Werder, W-E-R-D-E-R, also known as Kelly, Kellie, Everts, Everts, the lady who strips for God and dances to save men's souls. I gave 1,000 sermons for 14 years, all over from coast to coast in Canada, in hundreds and hundreds of clubs and theaters and nightclubs. I gave sermons before I danced, and I was world famous for it, and appeared on headlines in every city and town I was in, multiple times, multiple headlines, and multiple television newses and talk shows and radio shows and the whole media blitz. And I did all the publicity work myself. In 99% of the cases, I contacted them. Only very few times once United Press International called me in Rhode Island. I remember that. It was a shock. What? Somebody called me. I usually call them. See, you have to, you, you lead you can't lead a horse to water. You got to make him drink. You've got to make him drink. Don't just take him to the water. Make him drink. That's the secret to publicity success. All right, I'm talking about my post-traumatic stress that I had. When I lost my father wouldn't take me to live with him. My mother abused the hell out of me. She murdered me psychologically. She mentally, emotionally, it was mostly emotional, but it was physical. She beat me up. She thought I was a punching bag, and she beat the shit out of me with her fists whenever she was frustrated. Bang! I was the punching bag, and she would punch me. So, but that hurt less than the emotional pain. You know, emotional, mental pain goes deeper, deeper, deeper. All right, so now, the losing my dad, who I adored, I loved with all my heart. Every time I became infatuated or in love, and it's still true today, but I think I finally maybe have got over it. I hope. I hope. But it's something you never get over. If you do, it's a miracle. So I hope that miracle has happened. So every time I get infatuated or in love, it's not the individual that I'm suffering over, that I'm grieving over, or anxious over, or obsessed over. It's a repetition of losing my dad, if they're not perfect. As soon as I fall in love, this happens. As soon as I fall in love. So I had an affair with James Brown, and I fell in love with him. James Brown was a very fucked up individual. But I didn't know that. I was just a kid. I was 19 years old. I didn't know this is a fucked up guy. I just knew him as a great star. And he was so, as most of these guys, many of these guys who just use you. He was just using me, using my body, using my beauty as arm candy a little bit, using my body, using the fact that I was, white and blonde and drop dead gorgeous then, and it flattered him that I loved him and all that, but he didn't want true love. He didn't want any true love. He just wanted to fuck everybody. Every white woman that he met, he wanted to fuck every one of them who was, attractive and wanted him, whatever, and let him, whatever. And that's what I watched him do, but I was in love, so he hurt me. He hurt me so badly, I was just in my bed, dying of a broken heart. I was in pain. All my insides were inflamed from the stress. And so I don't want to get into deeply about the James Brown. I will get into it at another time, But it was during this time that I met this guy who is a bogey yogi, a fake yogi. So I'm trying to think of how it happened, but it's probably through people. He heard about me through somebody. I had this beautiful little house in Beverly Hills that I rented, and he began to call me, and I listened to him. He had an English accent, and he was a con man. A con man. I ended up being with this con man for several reasons. One reason was that I had just got over the broken heart with James Brown. I had also just finished I Broke It Off, an affair with Mickey Hargitay. Mickey Hargitay wanted to marry me. He asked me to marry him, and I declined because I sensed inside of myself, even though I knew, I knew he loved me, I knew my life would be easier. He was wealthy. I wasn't wealthy. He was wealthy. He had security and stability. I could have probably, yeah, I would have continued working on my career as in the Hollywood with him by my side, supporting me. It would have been a much easier life, but I felt somehow it was not my destiny, that I had a different destiny. And the thing with James Brown is he hurt me so badly. So I had just got over breaking up with Mickey Hargitay and been grieving in the middle of this deep grieving illness. And by the way, I was at that time getting offers from Las Vegas for $10,000 a week from Circus Circus. A guy kept calling me and calling me and calling me, and I said, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I was so sick. And I missed that opportunity, and I'm not grieving about it because I feel that that wasn't the right thing for me to do either. I know my personality, and things would have, I could have been in danger had I gone to Vegas, because my personality is very stubborn, and I wouldn't have done all the things they wanted me to do, if you know what I mean. So I could have been in danger, so I think that God didn't want that to happen. So this fake guy, he would talk, he had the gift of gab, and he would talk, and he would talk, and he would talk, and he would talk, which all men do. You know, whenever men are talking to you for a long, long, long time, they want to fuck you. I guarantee you. The talking, when they just want to engage you in conversation, they want something out of you. It's usually not money, unless you're real old and rich or something. They usually, if you're reasonably young, reasonably good looking, even if you're not that good looking, usually, you know, in your younger years, they all want sex, 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 sex. So if anybody's talking to you for hours, they want sex. So just be mindful of that. Life, the one thing it's never going to change is when you meet people, they're going to want something out of you. If they don't see anything they can get out of you, that you're a liability instead of an asset, they're not going to be your friend anymore. If there's nothing they can get from you or out of you. In other words, sometimes people just want moral support, but if they're not going to get moral support from you, they won't be your friend. That does happen. That does happen, that people want just moral support. But usually they drain you. That's why I don't have a lot of close friends. Most of the people that I have known, they drained me and they just took away my energy and they took away my time. You know, when I've got work to do, I've got a mission to accomplish, I've got to exercise, I've got to study. You know, I lead a busy interior life. I lead a busy study life because I'm a teacher. And I don't want people draining me and taking from me for their ordinary life. And this is what most people that I know that are so-called friends would do to me. So I don't have a lot of friends, but they want something from you. But usually when men keep talking and talking and talking, they want sex. Okay, so this guy talked about everything but sex. He never mentioned sex. They don't. A lot of them don't, because they know that they'll push you away. He purported himself to be an expert in yoga. Now, at that time, I knew very little about yoga, and he was supposed to be a guru yogi. He was from India, supposedly raised in England. He had an English accent. His father was a prince, ha ha ha. So he was a prince, supposedly, because of oh no, his dad was a Maharaja, and this guy, supposedly was a prince. So he was a prince like Duke Ellington was a duke. You know what I mean? So he's a fake. He was a fake, and his knowledge of yoga, his knowledge of guruhood and yoga was very bad. His information was bad. His teachings were bad. But I did gain something from him. Now I'm going to continue in the next video. To be